What went wrong with the 2025 Arizona Cardinals? How much time you got?
Yeah.
And how Mike LaFleur is going to be part of the solution in taking him out of the dark again. We've got our guy Nate Tice, of course, Yahoo Sports NFL analyst and host of the Football 301 show. Nate, thanks for joining us, my man.
Thanks for having me. Hopefully we didn't already lament already on the pre-show because as someone that had a Cardinals as a playoff team, I think this could be very therapeutic and cathartic maybe to talk about this.
Yes, the healing can begin now. But
Yeah.
before we move forward, let's talk about what went wrong this past year. We chopped it up before we went live. It was Bo and I at training camp, and it's just like this team doesn't look right. Can it come down to simply injuries? Because that's what the team led you to believe. But I think when you look deeper, Nate, from the staff to the analytics, everything with this team, I thought what could go wrong did go wrong.
Yeah, it was a Murphy's Law kind of year, and I think it was just, of course, the injuries is going to stand out. The tough schedule is also going to stand out as well, playing into that division, and on top of that, other teams that they had to play. But really, it was just that the offense didn't take that next step. It felt like almost year one Petsing when Kyler came back for the second half of the year.
Yeah.
That's where it felt like I thought Kyler had shown a lot of growth in that offense, and I thought there was a lot of reversions back to his bad tendencies, bailing from the pocket, not throwing stuff over the middle, and also there was just kind of like just not a mashing that made sense, a meshing of everyone's personnel groupings, skill sets and everything, how MHJ was used. I'm so sorry. But I just thought that nothing just kind of like felt cohesive other than Trey McBride targets.
Yeah.
Like that's the only thing. And then when Michael Wilson got in there, but that kind of was like a little bit of a scam, as my Matt Harmon likes to say, like a little fantasy scam going on. But I just never thought that there was something that made it hard on defenses or made it where I was like, oh, okay, they're adding layers. They're adding kind of polish to this team. And I thought the offensive line regressed. Losing Clayton Adams was a little bigger blow. That's something I kind of waved away and I shouldn't have. It's a risky hire, hiring an offensive line coach that's only done college like they did. It can go well, it can go bad. And then I think defensively it was like you never just got to see that full-forced unit. They do interesting things, but how Nick Rawls plays that defense, it's susceptible to big plays, especially if you don't have guys that can mitigate those. That was by design when the roster was bad. But now, and then it was like we only got to see glimpses of that kind of like, okay, this is what it's supposed to look like.
Yeah.
So it's just you never could get off the ground. And I said to you guys before the show, that Thursday night game against the Seahawks felt like to me it was like, oh, okay, because they put up a good fight in the second half, but it just like, oh man, you're kind of a step behind. Like 'cause the Seahawks just felt faster, more tenacious and everything. They felt more, even just year one with Kubiak, they just felt more cohesive already.
Yeah.
So that's for me was when the alarm bells kind of started.
Yeah, it was strange. Like you had this waiting game going on, and then you would see teams that either the Seahawks way ahead in their rebuild, but they were able to change parts like wholesale changes, big changes, quarterback, offensive coordinator, and they were finding their footing a lot quicker. It's like at that stage in the season, the Cardinals were facing a full-blown identity crisis offensively. Like they wanted to be this run-first team. They couldn't run the ball anymore because you talked about the Clayton Adams aspect. He's gone. James Conner's hurt. Trey Benson got hurt. Kyler Murray's hoisting the ball up 40 times that game, but he's throwing it like under 5 yards a clip.
Yeah,
it was
check down.
It was unreal. But like get back to where you said it's like Murphy's Law. Even though like everything went wrong, it felt like we found out what wasn't going to work going forward, or at least according to the unwritten rules of the NFL, is like you can't go 3-14 or you can't go 15-36 as a head coach. You're out. And then have we definitively learned anything as far as Kyler Murray? Nope, can't be the quarterback here in the Arizona Cardinals. They can't work here.
I think what's going back to when Gannon got hired, I remember I did some shows where everyone's like, all right, how long is this going to take? Because you guys even just taken like from a national view, that was such a desolate roster. Like it was so barren. There's no depth, no stars. Like there's some, McBride hadn't become McBride yet, but people were interested. But it was like, man, this was just a bad roster that needed retooling and reworking. And it was interesting how they made the most of that. Year one was so interesting to me. That's why I became kind of really interested in what Gannon was doing, Rawls was doing, what the offense was doing. And over time, you saw the next year, and I saw Kyler getting so much more comfortable. But then again, when push comes to shove, this is not fair. I'm not comparing Kyler to this guy, but just something about bad tendencies kind of crop up when guys are stressed. I think it's just a human element. How many times would you hear, oh, Tim Tebow fixed his motion, and as soon as he got pressured, the motion would drop.
Yeah.
Kyler started feeling the stress, and then his worst tendency is to bail.
Yeah.
And this is an offense that was like, no, it has to operate from the pocket, so much play action. And I just didn't think that I don't know. There was a lot of stuff. Cowher's best throws. You got to remember with DeAndre Hopkins and everything, and AJ Green, when it was just all outside, fade balls, back shoulders. MHJ is not a MHJ. I keep messing up. Is not a back shoulder guy really.
Yeah.
He's a crafty route runner type. So that doesn't work out well. Okay, McBride and Kyler obviously have great tendencies, so that works out well. Nothing just felt right. Okay, Connor gets hurt, which also was kind of like, if you didn't think he was going to get hurt,
Right, which is something we said.
Yeah.
That scared me before the season because Benson is a guy I've been trying to figure out like as a player, and I'm kind of.
Is he just a guy?
Yeah, he's just a guy. And that's kind of, and it wasn't like any backups where it was like, okay, this guy gets more touches. That's cool. It's Michael Carter.
we were big Scadaboo guys.
Yeah.
I mean, like that would have made perfect sense
Local
to keep
boy.
him in Arizona. Yeah.
No, that makes sense. Yeah, and that actually makes a lot of sense with Connor. That's who I compared Scadaboo to coming into this draft. So, but that's what this offense needed. Like that's the identity. Like you guys just said, like it's going to run first team, and you have no running back.
Right.
Okay, all right. Well, the offensive line made the most of it with Adams. Paris Johnson Jr. I do think has star qualities.
Yes.
Like just an off year this year, just everybody up there. But I do think that, okay, if the offensive line takes a theoretical step back, shouldn't you juice up the running back position? But again, it shows how desolate this roster is. They had to bring in all these free agents on defense and draft guys on defense because they had nobody except for Budda Baker, basically. And then Zaven Collins has become a nice player. But it's just when I looked at it, it's like I think that's why I always looked at it, this is a 4-year job. But I understand that year 3 was just, this was a huge step back as opposed to a little step forward.
They were waiting for Gannon to win a game or two down the stretch, and it just never came.
Yeah.
And that's why, as we fast forward to this last month, which has been hellacious, this hiring cycle, they felt very unprepared. Now, Nate, I like where they landed.
Yeah.
I think best case scenario from the sandbox they were playing in, Mike LaFleur is about as good as you can get, considering the circumstances. That's why this Kubiak charade was ridiculous, and Saleh and Harbaugh and everybody's saying no. Your initial reaction to the LaFleur hiring?
Yeah, I think it was the best that they could do. I mean, they were interviewing Ron Rivera. It's like,
Right.
Okay, that was dire times.
Right.
And I think that it's funny that everyone's going to be running basically the same offense. Well, it depends what Seahawks do in this division and everything. But I like it as far as, McBride is going to be a great fit in that.
Yeah.
If Harrison, we'll see, but he's a much better fit for this offense. It just depends on who the quarterback is as well. That's the thing is, Petzing was kind of a hybrid offense. It's some Shanahan stuff, but it also was some, we say Stefanski, but I always say that's more traditional NFL is what I usually call it. So it's kind of like a hybrid. This is true blue Shanahan offense. And LaFleur, I actually worked with him in Atlanta. Him and his brother couldn't be any more opposite personality-wise, which is very funny. But he also he brought a lot of stuff to the Rams. He reworked their run game. They was zone, became more duo-centric, became more varied over the last couple of years. And I think he knows what he's getting into. I mean, he's no dummy. So I think that's kind of nice sometimes because you can, just like year 1 with Gannon, let's try some stuff. It's almost like we're doing it again, but with a young offensive guy instead of a young defensive guy. Just got to see who the assistants are. Got to see who the O-line coach is. Got to see who the defense coordinator is. And then I'll start kind of feeling exactly how it is. But like you said, it's not – people are kind of laughing, rolling their eyes and stuff like that. I'm like, aren't we excited? What about – everybody's saying hire Shanahan guy.
Right.
They did, and now everyone's laughing.
Right.
It's funny how people do that, public perception-wise.
Right. He's a Shanahan, McVay, LaFleur guy. I mean, those are 3 guys that are legit.
Everyone goes nuts. It goes, offensive play caller now, and everyone, now something they do, and everyone's like, ha, ha, ha. And so I'm telling you guys that, I'm not laughing at it because I'm like, what did you guys want them to do? They have an incumbent GM.
Right.
They have question marks at quarterback. They have, interesting at O-line. I was going to say they have questions at O-line.
Sure.
So it's like, right, you're not going to get frickin' Bill Belichick.
The division's insane.
Insane division that's young and has great coaches in it. So it's like, I don't know. I thought it was like a fine hire, like a B+. It's getting on base. And so if you guys are a little hey, defensive, maybe some of the national perception, I'm with you guys more than anything. Cause
we like the hire.
No, it's been refreshing to hear, your take. Robert Mays over The Athletic was very complimentary of it. He thought that a guy like LaFleur probably deserved a couple more looks. I want to get back to what you said, him and his brother being different for our audience. Like, how is that?
Personality-wise, he's a little more bubbly friendly.
Okay.
Matt's a good guy, but he's one of those guys that at first he sounds very abrasive, and then you don't realize he's joking. And then you realize over time, you're actually a good guy. It's just that you come across. And I think Mike his whole life has had to apologize for him. So he's more like, hey, everything's great, everything's good. So it's a little bit more jovial. But he's super detailed. Like, it's, again, when he was with Atlanta, that was the staff with under Kyle Shanahan, the OC, Dan Quinn, the head coach. He was a quality control guy.
Yeah.
And he was just so detailed, knew all the stuff. There's a reason that, like, LaFleur had, or McShay had him as his guy. McVay.
Yeah.
Had him as his guy. And I think there's, like, I don't know, it's kind of funny just how hype machines build. And, like, some guys get out, but it's like, why is Liam Cohen this? And then this guy's not. And he's giving him play calling duties and Week 18 games, preseason and stuff. So, I don't know. He's kind of been groomed to, like, be a good play caller.
Yeah, I was always fascinated by, the ending with the Jets, but the more we dig into that, it was very much circumstantial.
Oh, yeah.
He
Wilson.
Tragically lost his quarterback coach, Greg Knapp, that first year he was there.
Yes.
And then it always told me, Nate, like, he loses that job, and then he immediately gets hired in the same job under McVay. Like, that has to tell you something.
It's because he's detailed. And there's a reason McVay is, there's some comparisons to, like, his personality. So, he's a football nut, and he hires other football nuts. Mm-hmm. And that's what LaFleur's are. They're junkies about this game. Like, they just love the game. And that's why I'm interested, because this is his first show. And when he was with the Jets, and my friend Justin Mosqueda, he covers the Packers, they played a preseason game, and LaFleur was basically doing, like, the head coaching audition. And so you should have just seen all the stuff. I mean, the Jets that year, even with Zach Wilson, like, the gadget plays were really good. Mm-hmm. Stuff in the red zone was really unique, which shows to me, like, hey, we're trying to make the most of it, which is kind of...
The stuff with Mike White was good, too.
It was,
right.
Oh, and it just unpinning the grenade and launching it. It was just, and for me, it was hard because I was low on Zach Wilson, and then his rookie year was happening, and people were yelling at me, going, oh, well, it's the coach. I'm like, I don't think it's the coach, guys. I don't think this guy knows how to play quarterback. Right. So that's why I wanted to see him get a shot. And even if it's Brissett, if it's whoever, like, I just want to see him get a shot with a
Well, let's ask him. Who should be the quarterback of this team? What's realistic? Because, Kirk Cousins has been released. They're going to have maybe a Malik Willis. Do you trade for Mac Jones? We assume Kyler's going to be dealt here in the next month. What's your plan then if you're Mike LaFleur?
I mean, getting Mac Jones would be actually pretty interesting, but it's in division.
Right.
Yeah.
And they also... kind of what I've gathered, it seems like the 49ers want to hold him, and then after next year, kind of do the Joker broken cue stick.
Okay.
Go, like him and Purdy, and kind of go, all right, because they like Jones. Like
Wow.
There's a reason they snatched him up as soon as they could. But I do think that I think Brissett's kind of like the easiest answer to me. It's not. There's not a lot of names out there that you like really want to like hitch your wagon to. Malik Willis is interesting, but I also think he's pegged for Miami. Like that just seemed because the Packers guys, that kind of just seems a natural fit for there. And also, if I'm being honest, not a guy I'd rather go wait a year and then draft a guy in 2027, which is an interesting class. I know everyone always says that about every class, but that's the Arch Manning class. There's Lenore Sellers, who I'm really high on, Dante Moore, on top of a few other guys. So I'd rather just have the bridge guy. You got to be. I still view this as more of it's a reset. I don't think anyone should be like, oh, no, we get a guy and we got to win and we're going to groom this. I think it's more just a reset, deep breath. Okay, now we can reestablish and get a guy that we want to grow with after that.
Being familiar with Mike LaFleur in his tenure in the NFL, I mean, can you tab anybody that maybe our audience wouldn't, in the coaching circles, that you would expect to be on his staff? You did say, like, this is going to be a wild coaching hiring process.
It's just that when that tree is, there's so many guys out there, it kind of like, they're also going to, okay, if I have 5 choices, like if I'm an offensive line coach, no offense to the Cardinals, probably going to be one of the bottom ones.
They understand that now.
So that's, and the pay is so good. Even teams that used to be perceived as cash-strapped, like I'll include the Cardinals here, they can pay so good still. Now these coaches can be choosy. You go like, all right, well, it's not really money. It's more just like, all right, best situation. If they're smart enough, which more of these guys are. So it's hard for me because it's just like the O-line coaches are just strapped, like just plucked. Yeah. So there might be some. And again, LaFleur's been around. He's very well liked. So he might just go. He might have to do what freaking Canada did year one.
Can he do what Shoddy did? Can he go and give a guy like Clayton Adams the title of an OC just because he's gonna? It seems like he's gonna.
Yeah. It's just that I'm trying to think who could even be out there. Yeah. Like you could go like the guy with Cromer with the Bills retired. Like that would maybe be an interesting one if they're like, hey, he retired, and then it's like Terry Funk in wrestling. It's 1 week, and then you bring him back.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys would get that reference or
not.
I
do.
Okay.
Doesn't.
Okay. Forever. No, it's so I think maybe that is a guy. I really do think because his O-line coach with the Jets already got hired, Keith Carter. He went to the Vikings, who I actually think is not a bad thing you guys missed.
Okay.
So it's not like a guy who's like, oh, you got to get him.
Yeah.
So to me, it's probably going to be some assistant offensive line coach from somewhere that he has to go with. So again, like I said, there's some comparisons to Gannon's year one where you have to get creative, but I kind of trust LaFleur to like pluck some interesting young names.
Yeah.
Unbelievable insight, of course, joined by Nate Tice, Yahoo Sports. You can hear more of him. Football 301, streaming on Yahoo Sports Network. Fast channel. We used to be on Fast.
Yeah.
You can find it there. Or if you got a Samsung TV, you can find it on Fast. Yeah. YahooSports.com, YouTube, and everywhere you hear podcasts. Nate, thank you so much, man. Great insight.
Great stuff, man.
Thank you.